All right. Well, the Mets have clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2016. And hopefully we're in the playoffs for a little bit longer than we were in 2016. That's what we're hoping. But the job is not finished. We are still in a full-on war with the Braves. It is airtight. Braves play the Phillies tonight. There's 12 games left for the Mets to go, and they have a magic number of 12. So that is basically how you're seeing it unfold for the division race. But we're in the playoffs. There's less panic right now, but a better scenario would be to win the division. The Braves have reigned that East for a little too long, and it's time to take it from them. So still tons of work to go with 12 games left, tons of stuff to talk about. Other than that, welcome to Mets Weekly, presented by Empire Sports Media.
On 3-2, Vader. Swings and misses, strike three. He struck him out. 5 Met pitchers combined for the second no-hitter in New York Mets history.
Okay, Andrew, I'll start with you. Say what's on your mind. No, don't. But say whatever you want to say about this team so far.
Oh, dish team. Okay, so I couldn't talk about llamas. Okay. Yeah, I mean, 2 out of 3 against the playoff contender. Obviously, disappointing finale. We'll get to that. And I feel a certain person is going to rant heavily today. But, again, clinch the playoff spot. So you can go 0-12. But guess what, boys? We're going to be in the playoffs. We cannot win another game this year, and we will be in the postseason. Job's not done. Like you said, the Braves are on our ass. You know, we're all Phillies fans, like I am, because I am a closet Phillies fan. Bryce is going to hit 2 bombs tonight, and we're going to, go up another half game. Max Fried's not that good. Phillies, please do your job. And J-Rod got hurt, so I'm kind of upset. But again, we get to go play Oakland, get a little Mark Canha, Chris Bassett revenge series, and again, hopefully the Phillies can give us a little help. Maybe by next time this week, maybe we got a 3-game lead in the division.
Ronald Acuna Jr. has been scratched from tonight's lineup due to mid-back tightness. That is such a shame. I'm so upset. Tony, I'll go to you. What would you like to say off the top of your head about this team right now?
As soon as I take a bite of my banana, you go to me. Seriously?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's fine. I always talk with my mouth full. I'm rude. Hey, I missed last week. I wish I didn't because I think you for sure, I know you, Carson, checked into my Twitter, whatever they call it, thing with the voice prompt. That was disgusting going back 2 weeks ago when they got swept by the Cubs. Nice that they bounced back, swept the Pirates in the 4-game series, took 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee, which is like all you can ask for. They're a near playoff team, right? They're a pretty good team still, plus that great comeback on Tuesday night. So I'm not mad we didn't sweep Milwaukee, but it always hurts when the Braves lose a game, especially to the Nationals, and you can't take advantage of it. Honestly, we're just not a whole lot's changed. Like, it's basically like the beginning of the year all over again, you know, like we're only a game ahead. It's going to be a race to the finish line. So just keep my fingers crossed.
I mean, I've pretty much accepted that you have to beat Atlanta yourself to take them out. Like, that's literally just all I've convinced, and you just gotta really just you gotta hang in there. But Frank, before you go ham on this team, what do you like? Let's start with nice things. What are you liking from
that
this
they will
team? I'm
play
limiting you right
a
now.
playoff game that isn't a 1-game wild card game, that they'll actually be in a playoff series. Now, which playoff series they're in, that's going to be contingent on a few things that we're going to discuss, but at least they're in the playoffs. At least they got that part out of the way. That's what I like. What I don't like, we'll get to.
Okay. Well, let's get into I want to start this off with something that we posted yesterday. It was 6 players that cannot be on the 2022 postseason roster. If you have not checked that out yet, it's in the pinned comment. It's also our most recent video. It did very well. Thank you guys for that. But other than that, you look at that list. I mean, I don't care if you give anything away or whatever. Who doesn't belong there on that list? Anybody that you would add to there? I know there's one guy that I know someone's gonna add there, but other than that, around working around the Drew Smith, Tony, anybody that you would add or take off or
I did not see the list. I don't know who's on the list.
Okay.
So
I'll let you know of it. So hold on.
But I'm assuming Drew Smith is not on the list.
He is not, because he did not pitch by the time that we recorded that video. So we didn't. And to be honest, I just kind of forgot about him.
Yeah, Drew Smith should not be on the playoff roster. Okay, this guy's horrific. I am so sick of the excuses for Drew Smith. Okay, it used to be like this is what people did for Edwin Diaz. Oh, he can't pitch in a non-ninth inning. He can't pitch back-to-back days. He can't pitch more than 4 outs. He can't pitch if it's cloudy out, if it's raining out, if he didn't jack off that morning. I am so sick of hearing these excuses now for Drew fucking Smith. Okay? Jolly Olive, say what you want. Okay? I'm sick of hearing all of these bull crap excuses. He has been a horrendous reliever for 3 years running. When he's actually healthy. He's never healthy, and when he is, he's serving up bombs. He had a great April. Thank you. That's great. Your job here is done. I am sick of seeing Drew Smith throw 95-mile-per-hour meatballs right down the middle with 0-2 counts. Goodbye.
All right. Well, in the defense, okay, of Drew Smith, he did get very unlucky with that home run. Not a barrel, and I will hit you with narrative ball. Okay. At the end of the day,
how many of the other ones were barrels were not barrels? Were expected
it was a non-barrel, but at the end of the day, it was still considered a hard hit, so the dude still sucks. Frank, I'll let you unleash on Drew Smith since we've already opened the can of worms. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think what I don't like is kind of like Tony was saying that we're at the point now, like we talked about at the beginning, we clinched. Okay, good. But now we got to make the decisions. Okay, well, who's going to be on that playoff roster? You guys made the video on 6 guys that can't make it. But right now you have 28 guys. You have to trim it down to 26. And we've talked all year that the Mets didn't add a whole lot of relievers because they're going to be looking at these other guys. Will Drew Smith be healthy? What kind of impact will he have? What about McGill? What about Lucchesi? How is all that going to fit in? And Drew Smith finally comes back, very late September. So he only has a certain amount of time to prove what he's got, if he's healthy, if he could be consistent, what kind of role you could use him in. And I think that we can't be in the mindset of, for Drew, we got to make sure that there's nobody on base and that he's facing a certain hitter in a certain inning. When it comes to the playoffs, you don't get to choose that. You're going to be put in whatever situation. And it's not always going to be Mike Brasso. It could be a much better hitter than that. So you don't always get to have exactly what you want. And that's where we're at right now. We are not at the stage of the season where, we got to make sure, we're working guys back. We put them in low leverage spots, easy scenarios. It's do or die time right now. When the Braves are 1 game behind you, you don't have room for experiments, room for trying to put these guys in certain situations, especially with a taxed bullpen. Lugo not available, Ottavino not available, Diaz not available, and you're ready to use some other guys. You're ready to use David Peterson. So you had to go to somebody. McGill, he had just worked earlier in the series. So they had to go to somebody. And Drew Smith, they brought him in. He couldn't get the job done. So you're not always going to have the ability to have the situation you want. So if you're trying to make the playoff roster, that's the worst thing you could do, because we know that's his big problem is the fly balls, the home runs, and he comes back from the injury, and the first thing he does is give up a home run. So I just think that we need to have guys that you could put them in any scenario, whether it's bases loaded, bases empty, 1 out, 2 outs, go more than an inning. Whatever the case is, when it comes to the playoffs, you can be put in really, really tough spots that, you maybe didn't do during the regular season, but you're not going to have that freedom, that flexibility to choose. So I was just very disappointed that he was not able to come through and that the Mets took this mindset of, it's going to be okay because we have Drew Smith, we have Lucchesi. The fact that they took that mindset, they did with Trevor May earlier in the season too. They had that mindset, yet it hasn't paid off. And we've seen the same thing with DH. We've just seen a lot of areas where we said, you know what? Going into the season, we said, probably could use a lefty. At the trade deadline, we said, probably could use a lefty. And the fact that they have just been so stubborn and unwilling to actually go and get other guys has been the most frustrating part about it, because they're relying on guys that really don't have these great backgrounds. These guys that have these great resumes, like, oh, it's not like Drew Smith has been a great Met for years and years and years, where it's a guy that we feel like we could trust when he comes back. He always had his question marks surrounding him because, like Tony said, with the health. And that's the same thing this year. He's had all these injuries. So it just really frustrates me that they continue to take that mindset.
Can I add two things real quick before you go to Andrew? First of all, Frank, you got a great tan going on. Who says that summer is over? Wow. Two, why does it seem like every home run Drew Smith gives?
And he hacked into our interview.
And Drew Smith has hacked into the stream. There you go.
Yes, there you go. Sorry, I'm back. Why does it seem like every Drew Smith home run is a backbreaker home run? Like a 3-run shot, the 3-run homer to Pedersen. I think he gave up a 3-run homer to the Mariners in that game that they lost at Citi Field. He gave up the grand slam.
Game, the 13-12. He was a leading contributor.
Right,
that one.
of course. So it's like not just like home run here. They're like lead changing 2, 3, even now 4-run home runs, aka grand slam. So I'll leave it at that. It's just I can't even watch him anymore.
And I'll answer that question for you because his command's horrible. He can't command anything. Can he throw strikes? But can he hit a spot? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and he gave up the grand slam in an 0-2 count as well. So we talk about what Trevor made too. It's like peach sequencing. Just like the kind of approach you take with the hitters, you can't put them away.
Turn the cutter into a slider. You thought that he would be able to bring in some more ground balls with some breaking pitches. And like you don't really need to locate someone. Okay, you do, but a slider can bail you out. Like a good breaking ball can bail you out. And the thing's just staying in the air. So like I give up at this point. I think I've already established that. I mean, any changes that this guy makes, I mean, at this point, what's the deal? And that brings me up to another point where, and I kind of just put this out on Twitter. I don't know if I forget. I don't even know. I put some random thoughts out there, but I really, and this is a topic of discussion, obviously, for the off season, but I'm really going to need this team to blow up this bullpen and build a new one around Edwin Diaz if they were to bring him back. There's a lot of guys around here where they haven't panned out or it's time to say goodbye. You need a new look at this point with a lot of these arms. And whether it's guys who come up from AAA or guys that you bring in 1-year deals like the Ottavinos or like the other guys, we have a lot of free agents and we all know that all of them are not going to be coming back. But whether, in mild success or mild failure, it's time to move on. That was the same mindset that I had with Jerry's Familia. It was time to move on. It's enough already. That era is over. If something isn't, if there's a lot of specific things not working out, like a lot of different pieces that are not working out, then maybe as a whole, you really need to blow this up. And that's what I think they really need to do. Diaz, and maybe, bring back, at this point, I have no clue. Like Trevor Williams is the only guy that I'm considering. Ottavino, sure, but he's 36, might retire. Who knows? But any thoughts on that with the bullpen? I mean, because what I'm saying is yeah, we have a lot of different types of arms that, are more ready than others, but I don't know. I just think that there's just way too many guys, whether they have elite stuff or they have elite this or have elite that. It's just, you need to refresh this. And you just need to because there's just been a lot of in and outs of this bullpen just being okay, well, it's in a good stretch. Well, now it's in a bad stretch. And now it just seems like there's a lot of handicaps that I'm really seeing with this bullpen where a lot of these guys can't come into a certain situation. They have a lot of glaring weaknesses and they get full on exposed when they matter the most. Drew Smith, the fly ball problem. Joel A. Rodriguez, the walk problem. Seth Lugo, the locating sometimes. He screws up the locating. So there's a lot of these guys in this bullpen or a lot of these other guys that they've held on for too long, or guys that we know are not going to work out, that they just need to completely blow this thing up, whether it's keeping Edwin Diaz and building a new bullpen around him, or just you blow the entire thing up and you bring in some guys from the minors and bring in some other youngish to semi-young free agents. Like that's what I think they really need to do, because there is a lot of, and all I'm saying is that this year there is a lot of guys who are like, oh, well, I don't know if I trust this guy or 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 this guy. Also, this guy, sometimes I trust him, but I don't trust this guy. And I also don't trust this guy coming in for this guy. And after this guy, I also don't trust this guy. So that's what I'm seeing a lot this year. So maybe if there's a lot of moving pieces that are not moving the right way, blow it up. Anything else?
And the thing is that I guess if we're talking about just roster construction in general, the bullpen is not the only spot we feel that way. We feel the same way in the starting rotation, and we feel the same way in our outfield depth, because I think that one of the other most frustrating aspects of what happened yesterday was you saw Nimmo leave early with the injury, kind of took over, whatever. But McNeil, him forcing himself to play through those injuries, because the Mets, their only other option is go to Terrence Gore. And then if not Terrence Gore, who in the world would you call up if there was an injury in the postseason? That is a massive problem, because there is nobody you trust in the minor leagues that's an outfielder to come up to this team and be a valuable contributor. So the fact that they have just that lack of depth from so many different areas, because we talked about all these guys we don't have confidence in that we hope wouldn't be on the playoff roster, but they're going to have to be, because there is no alternatives. That's what really concerns me. And like we said earlier, same thing with the bullpen, the way they relied on the in-house guys to get the job done, because they just didn't go out and add another bench player. They just said, you know what, this is what we're doing. We're getting rid of JD. We essentially got rid of Dom, it feels like, and then we just bring in a guy. We got rid of Holderman to get Michael Givens. It always just feels like there's an exchange. There's no keeping and adding. You know, there's not just it's adding. It's always just swapping. That's the thing that they've done. Even during the offseason, they let all their expiring free agents go and just bring in a whole set of new guys. And they've played well, but there was no adding. It was all just swaps.
I'd say that like their main I think their main goal this offseason was upgrading. Again, like I think it's just kind of just getting that type of upgrade, that a team that can actually sustain throughout a 162 game season. And I think they did a really good job with that. But again, they also brought in these established veterans who are very prone to injury. And again, like when they do get injured, and we've seen them get injured, not as injured to shit as they were last year, but we've seen them get injured, and you see some options in AAA and you see some other options that they bring in, and they're not that reliable. And that's something that is definitely concerning, and they're just playing. And like we've talked about this before, it just seems like they play 26 to 26, and there's nothing like you may have a 40-man roster, but they're just taking up spots of guys who may look good and they're not really that good. They may do one thing well, and you're like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to have a need for this one thing at all this season. I don't need something in case of an emergency. Am I right, Frank? I mean, there you go.
Can I say something as well? Just another random thought that popped in my head about roster construction. So Francisco Alvarez has come back. He's played well. He's still hitting the ball really well. It still amazes me that we couldn't, if there was just a chance that he was going to play, at some point just put him on the 40-man roster. Because why in the world do we still need Yohan Lopez on the 40-man roster and can't reserve a spot for Francisco Alvarez? Is that really necessary? That this guy has to stay over here so we have no shot at calling up Francisco Alvarez for a postseason run?
Well, I mean, the deadline hit right before they can bring somebody to the 40-man or whatever. By the time he had that he came back or whatever, or
he was missing time before September though. Like we still knew that he had the ankle injury. We didn't know what was going on. He wasn't playing as consistently. So you know what? No, we can't put Francisco Alvarez on the 40-man because we got to make sure that Yohan Lopez stays on the 40-man. Why?
Is it a Rule 5 thing? Like.
Well, eventually, doesn't he have to get added eventually, though, to be protected from the Rule 5?
He has another year, though, right?
No, it'll be
No.
this off. It'll be this off
And
season. It'll
Mauricio
be
as well, right? He's got
Mauricio. Yeah, Mauricio.
Mauricio's
It would have
already
been
on.
Beatty as well. It would have been the big three. Would have had to be an add to the 40-man this year for Rule 5 eligibility. So
Yeah, Mauricio's already on the 40-man, so that's good. But I just can't believe that there are certain guys that we really we reserve these 40-man roster spots to not just the emergency, just that last one hope that maybe Alvarez can make a run. That's not a possibility. It can't happen.
I think the fact that he's just not playoff eligible anymore, there's just no real reason. He's coming off of injuries, playing the catcher position. I think that they're just looking at opening day 2023. That's what they're looking at right now, and it's not like, I mean, right now there's no spot to fill at the catcher position. We have two fantastic catchers who are just generational, and there's no need for Francisco Alvarez right now at all. There's no need. We don't need him at all.
What's the point? If we brought him up, he would have been a dud like every other prospect we ever bring up. Braves bring up fucking the corpse of Whitey Ford, and he would toss 190 innings with a 1.5 ERA.
I mean, if we're talking Braves, it's probably more Warren
All right,
Spahn,
if we want to go to
yeah,
prospects, we can go to prospects for a second, because I do have something written down about Mark Fiantos. How do we feel about Mark Fiantos? I'll go to the prospect guy in the top right. How do you feel about Mark Fiantos? The current situation, do you think that he's a piece that you can use? Do you think that, or do you either need to see more, or have you seen enough where this guy just needs to get traded? He needs to go forever and be sent off into the wild. What do you think about him? What are you seeing from him? I need an analytical breakdown. What do you got?
okay, you went to the wrong rhino there. I can take this question so many ways. If I wanted to go cynical, if I want to go objective, but yeah, again, 1 for the 19, which is not good batting average. The 1 hit RBI single, who cares? Majority of his ABs look garbage, but then he shows a few ABs. We're like, okay, he's working deep counts. He's striking out, but he's working deep counts. The fact that they held him so close to the vest that they wouldn't have traded for Contreras, JD, Martinez, Mancini, whoever, that just put extra pressure on him to be, all right, this kid has to come up and hit. And they called him up, and Darren Ruff sucking Sonny Siaki's ass makes him get called up, and he's playing like Darren Ruff. I mean, the strikeouts, 1 for 8, whatever. He's made some decent contract, but again, he struck out, 9 times out of his 22 ABs. And he's a DH. So, again, it's a kid, and like you tweeted out, both him and Beatty didn't light the world on fire when the Braves, again, using all of their devil magic, they can call up anybody, and they're hitting 350 and hitting homers and whatever. The Mets don't have that. Their cheating lab is not upgraded. That's why we need Carlos Beltran here. But, again, it's a kid. It's what I expected. I mean, obviously, the homers, we would think he'd be a big power hitter with a rookie and not looking at the Braves, because, of course, we're always going to look at the Braves. This is what rookies do. Every kid besides Michael Harris and goddamn Vaughn Grisham, J-Rod did the same thing, Witt, Adley, everybody besides the Braves, once they get called up, they suck their first 50 to 60 ABs, then they get adjusted, and then you see what you saw in the big leagues. So for me, I still would have traded him, because we all know whose side I was on, because one semi could play third base. Vientos can't play defense anywhere, so you could have just traded him for a DH. They kept him. We're stuck with him, but I still think you could trade him. I would have traded him, but maybe he can finally get it. Once he gets adjusted, I got to give him some time to actually get adjusted before we're chucking him to Dom Smith Island and JD Davis Island. But, again, he hasn't been great. It's what a kid is.
Tony, how do you feel about Mark Fiantos? You ready to just write him off? Is it over?
No, not ready to write him off and say it's over. I'm not ready to say that he's gonna turn around and do it this year, but I'm not ready to just give up on the guy after 19 at bats. They've not been pretty. They definitely have not been, but I don't think we should just say this guy's a bust already. I will say this from an organizational standpoint, even though he's been shitty, I'm glad that we at least got to find out instead of just continuously putting Darren Ruff up there. I mean, the results are the same, yes, but at least we get an idea. And we know Fiantos is not ready for the major leagues yet. I mean, clearly, he doesn't bring any other, positive qualities except to be a potential 30 home run bat at his ceiling. And obviously he's not ready to hit big league pitching. He can't field, can't run. So he's useless. But so is Darren Ruff, and so was Darren Ruff for many more at-bats with this Mets club. So at the very least, I'm glad we gave it a try and found out. But it's not, you're not putting him on your postseason roster. And it is what it is. You hope that next year he's more prepared to play in the big leagues at some point.
Frank, what do you got with Mark Fianto? So do you feel good about him? Do you think he'll get there, or is it over? Is his career over?
I still think that, like Andrew said, when we get called up, those growing pains could happen with a lot of the rookies. And I think that with Vientos, we talked about it when we talked about Darren Ruff video, but I still have not seen the consistent playing time that I want to before I could fully evaluate him, before he could get the rhythm, get those reps, because he'll play September 18th, he'll get one at bat. Then he doesn't play September 19th. Then he starts September 20th, but then he pinch hits September 21st. So it's just been that I feel like he doesn't really know his role right now. It's so inconsistent with the playing time. And, then he'll pitch in the 5th inning, or they'll pitch in the 7th inning. Then they won't pitch him at all. I just think that he has not been able to get adjusted to the major leagues because he hasn't really found that rhythm yet. He hasn't really got those reps that he needs. So I think that it's still too early to really make a declaration on him. I also was in favor for trading him because if the plan was not to call him up and you knew that you probably could have used another bat that wasn't Darren Ruff, I would probably have just traded him, because if you don't use him, get rid of him. Because like we said, when we're talking about prospects, not trading away prospects, it's because of long-term outlook. And like Andrew said, Vientos' long-term outlook is DH. And I just can't think of another organization that covets a prospect that's going to be a DH, where it's like, oh, we can't trade with this prospect because that's our future DH. Nobody says, oh, this is our future DH. We can't move them. And when we talk about just roster versatility, like what happened with McNeil getting hurt, with Nimmo getting hurt, Vientos doesn't help you in that aspect. You can't, put him out there to play left field, put him out there to play right field, put him out there to play third base and move somebody else to the outfield, maybe even Escobar in absolute emergency, move him to the outfield. Can't do that because you don't feel confident with him at third base. You can't bring him in a pinch run. So it just feels like this is the guy that we held on to, and this is a guy that was a top 100 prospect that is no longer a top 100 prospect. So that trade value that you had, you lost a lot of it. So I just think the way they've handled him, it has not been great. And I think it just continues to go that way with how they've been utilizing him.
I mean, I think it's kind of my thing where I try to see if the hitter's just overmatched by major league pitching. And even though they can't full on hit it and haven't had any success over it, actual consistent success between Beatty and Vientos, they don't look overmatched to major league pitching. And that's something that I'm keeping in the back pocket. I'm like, okay, well, they got something going for them there. As for competitive at bats, I'd say Beatty's got the upper hand with that one. Vientos is kind of just what I kind of just expected him to be. And that's pretty much it. He can hit the ball in the air, and I'm sure that's promising, but he can be very, very all or nothing. And he has not really established that he can succeed being that all or nothing type of player. And he definitely was not going to be the lefty killing DH that you dreamed of to call up. Would I have liked to get a lefty killer at the deadline? That was proven. Absolutely. But it's over. There's nothing that you can really do. It's either you ride with Darren Ruff or make Escobar the DH against lefties and have Guillorme play third base. So, I mean, at this point, there's nothing they can do.
I'll say
games
this.
Left. It's over.
I've been saying this since we first started doing Mets Weekly, before it was even, our thing here, when non-named other people had started it, right? Steve Cohen said that he's trying to build a winning organization, a sustainable winning organization. We know the horrific farm system that previously Jared Porter and whatever that guy's name were inherited. And of course, now Billy Epler. This is, one of those things where I wish they did trade and get Wilson Contreras. Hindsight is 2020. We could have really used him because this looks like a World Series team, but we're only in year 2 of the Cohen era. They're looking to build this farm system. They just had a very solid draft by all accounts. They're probably going to move up in the top 10, maybe top 15 as far as MLB farm systems after this draft. And I think they were just trying to hold on to everything they could and reevaluate here at the offseason. It is a failure because, again, I think this is a World Series roster that needed one big name like a Wilson Contreras, specifically as, being a catcher. But I think overall, the Dodgers weren't made overnight either. Rome wasn't built in a day for the Dodgers out in Los Angeles. They had some pretty ugly years there from 2013 to 2016 where they were paying Hanley Ramirez $25 million a year. Okay? So I get it. It's going to take some time. Hopefully they learn from this, though, and they have a deeper system next year where they can afford to part ways with a guy like Vientos. I just think the timing did not match up well, and that's the unfortunate part about it for us.
We do have a pretty nice top 10, and that's definitely something that we need to start off with, and that's definitely 10 great assets no matter where they go, whether it's in trades or they're actual key pieces to our roster. But all I can say is that in regards to Vientos, again, like we said about trading him, Mets and Blue Jays had a very similar farm system before the draft. Matt Chapman was available, and you did not get him. So, told ya. All right, moving on.
Yeah, but then your boy Luis Guillorme wouldn't be getting starts at third. So
he's a bench bat. He comes off the bench.
You told me Luis Guillorme is a god.
Well, yeah, he is.
He's a bench glove. He's not a bench bat.
Comes off the bench.
Glove.
He's a bench bat too. Yeah,
he's a bench glove.
Glove.
He's a bench bat as well.
No, he's a glove.
OBP.
Yeah, for getting hit in the ankle. Record-setting Luis Guillorme. At least that record attached to him.
But if you don't think he's an offensive juggernaut, 22 pitch AB in preseason. No one's ever done that.
You notice how Guillorme's 2 biggest accomplishments: catching a bat with his bare hand and a 22 pitch at bat.
Excuse me, the game tying homer against the Washington Nationals.
In spring training. Both happened in spring training.
Excuse me, game tying home run against the Washington Nationals in 2019.
Against a pitcher who's older than me. That wasn't impressive.
2019.
Playoff race. Hello.
And you're already invalidating. You said the year. It happened in the year we're not talking about.
2019 team with an actual playoff race.
Excuse me, the 2019 team is the most valuable team known to man.
Right.
Okay. We need to go back to that. All right?
Hey, Guillorme's been nice this year, but you overrate him. He's nice. Don't get me wrong. I like him,
obviously, I'm going to overrate a guy with a beard. The dude's cool. The guy's cool. What do you want from me?
No, he's not.
Next topic. Just enough.
Yeah, he's got a beard because his hairline is going like this.
Oh, hairline jokes. Come on now. Can we grow up, please? Jesus Christ.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, Matt Chapman would have been perfect. Kills left-handed hitters. Hits the ball in the air. That would have been nice. But no, Eduardo Escobar is fantastic. So.
Well, yeah, we're gonna end
now.
Third,
so
and we'll get a better third baseman in a year and a half than both of them. So don't worry.
Right, come on, next.
And the contract that Matt Chapman got.
The Dolphins fan doing at the Browns Steelers game. What a loser.
What happened now?
I mean, yeah. Just all right, go.
What else we got on the docket?
All right. Well, I want to put a little bit of a light on the hit by pitch record because this is fucking ridiculous. This guy, Mark Canha, just wears pitches. We already know about that. I just want to talk about, how do you feel about this whole situation? Because, are people frustrated with us that we're grinding out at ABs? Are they pissed off at us? Or are we just, supposed to have brittle bones and we don't? Anybody else want to add anything on this hit by pitch scenario? Because I think since the last stream to now, I think I've seen the most hit by pitches in that week stretch. to the
I'd
Mets.
like to know what Buck Showalter is going to do with the ball that was, the final one that, gave us the record. He said he's going to do something he said he can't tell us about or whatever. Like, is he going to light it on fire? Is he going to bury it like Rex Ryan style after he buried a football after a big loss for the Jets? Like, what's he going to do with this baseball? But
is he going to throw it at the pitcher that hits the next batter?
I don't think it's intentional. I think this is a league-wide thing. I haven't looked at the stats. I'm guessing that hit by pitches are up because we know how much they were complaining about the baseball in the beginning of the year as far as gripping it, and I think they're just trying to pitch inside. It's honestly unexplainable, though, why the Mets are getting hit as often as they do. I really can't say, and I don't think any of it's been purposeful. It's uncanny at this point. And, hey, OBB. Get on base, fine with me, as long as you don't get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get our base runners, whatever. Mark Canha, this has been something that he's had for his entire career. He's always wearing pitches. Never really makes sense because he always just stands in the middle of the batter's box. He's not standing in or anything like Anthony Rizzo. I understand Jeff McNeil because he's kind of just all over the plate right there. But other than that, it's like, it's weird. I don't know if we're intimidating, but like we talked about how like there's nobody that strikes fear other than Pete Alonso in this lineup. Maybe we're more intimidating and we just startle them and we don't make them scared.
Maybe Tyler Naquin and Darren Ruff could start getting hit by pitches and actually get on base. That'd be about the only contribution they've given to this team all since we acquired them. That would be ideal. If all of our hit by pitches could start being those two guys, would be wonderful.
James McCann always gets up after those. So yeah, next team that gets hit the most is the San Francisco Giants at 89. We're at 106.
You know what's funny is that Mark Canha leads the league in hit by pitch. You know who's second? Wilson Contreras. So imagine if we actually did get him.
Worked.
We really would worked. We really would have just completely shattered that record.
Mr.
And then
Epler,
third,
is destiny.
Andres Jimenez. So I mean, I don't. Maybe it's a Sandy. I don't know what it is, but like, no matter. And then I saw like through the past few years, you know who else is really high on there? Chris Bryant. So it's just like no matter what we do, we're gonna have guys that just get hit a ton. It's just part of the deal. Like since 2018, the top guys, you got Canha in there, Marte's in there, Alonso's in there, McNeil's in there, Nimmo's up there. So you knew that going into the season, you were going to have guys get hit a ton. But I just think that what frustrates me is that the Mets got hit 106 times. I would like to know how many batters the Mets hit because I don't think it's even close to the amount of times that we got hit. And we kind of, I mean, it's like 2 times in a game, game after game. And he admits it that he stands on top of the plate and doesn't move. But it frustrates me so much when, like, you're facing the Cubs, you're facing the Pirates, and first pitch in the first inning, Alonso's taking one in the arm, or, first pitch of something, McNeil's taking one in the back. Like, these guys, they're not even close with their missing. We've had a few guys get hit in the head. Like, some of the misses have just been so bad, and the way the Mets don't charge the mound, they don't really retaliate, and they've just let teams get away with it. And I have to say that for getting hit 106 times, to only have one injury, the Mets don't realize how lucky they are. That Starling Marte was the only injury that happened.
All right, Spencer Strider. All right.
But for 106 times, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, they could have been a lot worse.
The Mets pitchers are 9th in hit by pitches, 67.
Yeah, but still,
it's not like we're.
That's 40 less. It's crazy.
It's not intentional, but like all I can say is that, when you have some guys who refuse to throw strikes, that happens. But our most of our rotation does throw strikes, so it's we're fine.
I was disappointed in the Brewers because the Nationals, I expect them to hit us because they stink and they got a bunch of minor leaguers out there. The Marlins are trying to kill us, so that doesn't surprise me. But the Brewers, a team that's known for their pitching, is supposed to be a playoff team. I didn't expect them to constantly be beaming everybody. I mean, you're up 6-0, you're hitting Luis Guillorme in the ankle. Like, what are we doing here? It's just such a joke from these other teams.
Yeah, I don't get it, to be honest. As Chris Bassett talked about how like shitty the baseballs are and shit like that, and it's definitely possible, and I think it's not really just the fact that all the baseballs are terrible. It's that some of them are good and some of them are bad, and there's a lot of inconsistency in that whole department, and that's something that I'd say that is something that needs to be addressed. Will it ever be addressed? I don't really think so. Water is wet. But he said Knicks suck. Water's wet.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we'll just go to reactions to the injuries, and then we'll play a little bit of a game, and then that's it. Marte should be back. What did they say? Can baseball? He can
sometime
baseball
before the season's over, hopefully.
Yeah, they said the Brave series was the
hopefully he's
target.
back. Yeah, he can baseball in Oakland. That's what we're told. McNeil, how is that dude still alive? No clue.
Toughness.
Nimmo is day to day, as they just said. What was it? Like an hour ago or something like that. Left quad tightness day to day. Anything like just anything on the injuries?
We haven't heard anything about the COVID or whatever he has, right?
Givens COVID.
All right, let me channel my inner Keith Hernandez, because I feel like this is something he would say on the broadcast. Everyone's got injuries right now. I mean, everyone's a little banged up. Everyone's got a little nagging thing going on. Nimmo is kind of like that dog that you have that kind of fakes a paw injury every couple of weeks. Like, that's how I think of Nimmo. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying this is always the case with Nimmo. I don't know how he possibly did it. But
he was stealing the base in the first inning.
Right. It's just funny how it ended up then being on that play that he didn't even make the catch on, where he's removed from the game in the first inning yesterday, in the bottom of the first. So weird. McNeil, he's a warrior. He's going to go out there. He's going to play. Nothing's going to stop him. And Marte, the good sign has been taking swings, throwing the ball. And hopefully he'll be back for that Braves series. If we could get him in maybe the final game in Oakland, that'd be great. Otherwise, you got to target, I guess. Hopefully, I'd like to see him get at least a game or two in against the Marlins before going into that Atlanta series. So he at least has his legs back under him a little bit. But overall, the rotation's healthy. That's the greatest news. The big three are healthy, and that's all you can really ask for at this time.
Are you sure you want to say that at this exact time? Because we all know.
That's me knocking.
Once we say it.
That's me knocking on wood.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, I think we're safe for now. Give it about 2 days. But other than that, speaking of injury, Max Scherzer is back. Came in 6 perfect innings, taken out. Was it frustrating for the old-fashioned fan that wants to see him make history? Absolutely. I'll start off that conversation for a second. Would you have let him go, Andrew, for a perfect game, or
No.
Would you have done it?
No. I don't. So do you want to just have Twitter have fun? Oh, the Mets World Series against the Brewers. I'm not trying. Get you 6 innings, get your pitch count, and get the hell out of there. Get out of there. I'm not wasting. Just like what did the Houston Astros do? They had Justin Verlander in the 8th inning of a perfect game. Took him out. Game in April don't mean nothing. Games in mid-September where they were up 6-0.
But he's got a high motor.
He does have the high motor. He's got the grit. He's got the high motor. But, again, we're not winning a game against the Brewers. Cool. A perfect game's great. It's rare. It never happens. Again, that's why there's only been a few in baseball history. First, coming off the IL, get his pitch count up to whatever it was, 68 or 70, whatever the number was. Get out of there. And hopefully the team got the win. That's all that matters. If this was not coming off the IL, maybe second, third start off the IL, maybe you do it. Because especially, of course, Tyler McGill has to go bloop and a blast, and now the game's a little more uncomfortable. But I'm fine with what Buck did. First start back out. Get your 6 innings. Get the pitch count up. I'll see you October 7th or whenever the hell the playoffs hopefully is. When we start in the DS, and be happy because I don't want him burning bullets on a regular season games. I need those in October.
Terrible answer. Tony, would you have let him go?
No, absolutely not. And the pitch count was way lower than I expected it to be after 6 innings. But no, I do believe in him getting his work in and working that pitch count back up. But on his first start after that injury, by the way, the same injury that took him out in the middle of the season, his left oblique, he even referenced it in his post game, saying my oblique was tiring at the same time as my arm. So clearly this is an issue that is ongoing and something that they need to monitor and be cautious of. No chance. I mean, how great it would have been to see a perfect game. Yeah, wonderful. Well, guess what? What if a week later, oblique sparking again? Arms not feeling so great. Absolutely not. Buck made the right move. There's really, in my opinion, nothing to even talk about in this regard anymore. It's over with, and keep him healthy for the playoffs. That's all that matters.
Frank, would you have let him go? The old-fashioned buck up, get out there.
I think if the Mets weren't in the middle of a playoff race, then yes. But because there's a bigger goal right now, no. And I agree with Tony. I was surprised with the pitch count. I thought 68 was a bit low because his next start is going to be against Oakland. So we're looking at 80 pitches, maybe. And then what's the limit against the Braves? That's the question that I have. Because, I mean, are we only letting him go 85, 90? I mean, because I think when it comes to that Brave series, with the way things are shaking up right now, that series, it's basically a playoff series at this point because it's going to decide if you have that bye or not. So I would hope that we say Max Scherzer go as much as you can because those games are that important. But I don't know how the medical staff feels about it, how Max feels about it, how they're going to approach them. So I would like to get a little more. I would have liked something closer to 75. This way I know he can get a little above 80 in Oakland and then Atlanta 90, 100, whatever. So I'm just curious to see how it's going to end up working because, like we said, there's the bigger goal. I understand that. But how much are we really nursing him and pushing him when it comes to these bigger games against Atlanta?
Frank, you got Game of Thrones on that shelf?
I'd have to really look through all these and pick it out. But I have read it in the past. So I got to see if it's part of this collection.
All right. Well, for as this scenario, I think pitch count, they had to moderate it. If they take him out, they take him out, whatever. I was fine with either decision, to be honest. But my only thought is going back to Max Scherzer's press conference when he signed with the Mets. He talked about the less innings that he pitched that made his arm dead. So that's the only thought that I have in that scenario of not letting him go and but it's only in the back of my mind. We all just know that like Scherzer's just built in that different sense, but Tony?
No, it's interesting you bring that up because last year after the Dodgers acquired Scherzer, he actually had a perfect game going into the 8th inning in one of the final weeks of the season. Were there any injuries? Did he miss any start after that for anything? Is there any reason or no?
Well, yeah, in the playoffs, he had the dead arm.
Yeah, the dead arm.
Right,
I think he missed one start in the regular season. I think they skipped him one time.
Okay. So it was clearly all because he pitched less, or at least that's what he believes. Okay, I was just wondering if that was maybe some history that we could look back on and say, well, look, the same situation last year, and then all of a sudden he got the dead arm. But, yeah.
And the dead arm, we all expect was more due to the pitching on short rest, coming out of the bullpen, trying to save games against the Padres was really what led to the dead arm, not, what they did in him pitching a perfect game in the regular season. The short rest is always what's really going to put you at risk.
Yeah, that was the only thought that I really had with this. But then, you bring up the whole thing with him having a perfect game. I think that's just Dave Roberts just being Dave Roberts. We saw him take out, Kershaw. Injury concerns there too. He did that at the beginning of the season. Kershaw's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, so that would have been nice. Fuck you, Dave Roberts. But you know what? Again, these guys are frail. They got weak bones and everything, and they're a bunch of pussies. So, you know what? I'm fine with it. Whatever decision that they made, they were up at that point. What were they up by? 6-0, 6-0. So it's not like they needed him to go through a tight game. But again, history is history. It would have been nice, but I understand. And the only thing that I have, regardless of that scenario, is obviously talking about how the less innings that he throws, the less healthy that he is. And that makes sense with Max Scherzer because he's just a very weird animal. But maybe it's just a whole scenario of the fact that he is older now and he's trying to be more precautious and he's coming off of an injury. But you know what? Whatever. I'm my team just, all of these guys are my favorite team. Just a bunch of wusses. But I think we're gonna get to a game. It's basically I don't know if it's call out game or if it's a putting your hat in the ring for a situation or whatever, but it's just called That Guy. We all talk about how this guy is that guy. He's him. He's this. He's that. I have 4 playoff scenarios since we're going to the playoffs, and you're going to have a scenario like this, or maybe you won't, but who knows? And I'm going to call one out, and you guys pick a player on this roster who is best fitted for that scenario. We all good? Okay, cool. First one. This has no spite at all. This first one has no spite.
Definite spite. 6th
inning. David Peterson walks the bases loaded in relief. Desperately need a strikeout. Who are you going to out of the bullpen? And I'd like the easy cop out is obviously DeGrom and Scherzer or whatever coming out of the bullpen or whatever, but exclude them. Who you need a strikeout from? 6th inning, remember. Andrew, I'll start with you.
So in the 6th inning, I'm pretty much 2 guys for me. And I don't know if I trust one of them now, but if I need a strikeout and I'm not going to go to Lugo, I'm going to go to McGill. I'm going with the guy who could throw 100. I'm not trusting Givens. I'm not trusting Lugo because I want to save Lugo and Otto. I'm not using until the 8th. So you got Lugo or McGill. There's your choices. They're your 2 choices. And you can trust Givens. So give me the guy with the best stuff and the guy that walks the least of the 3. So I'll give me McGill out of that 3.
So did I mention 0 outs? Yes, 0 outs. Okay. 0 outs, walks the bases loaded, need a strikeout, fate of the universe on the line, laser beam pointing down. Max Kellerman, who do you need to get your strikeout? Frank, I'll go to you. Who would you put in this situation?
Since you want strikeouts, but since it's the 6th inning, you can't go to the guy that's on pace for the greatest strikeout season
and
ever.
That's why I chose the 6th inning.
The 6th inning,
yeah,
exactly.
So I think that if the game is on the line, you feel like this is the game right here because the bases are loaded. There's something I'm going to have to check if he's done it yet, but I probably have to go to Adam Ottavino, actually. I might have to go Ottavino 6, and then if I have a cleaner situation, then maybe I could put in Lugo or McGill or Givens or whoever's the hot hand by that time come postseason time. We'll know who we trust the most. But I think that, in the postseason, like I said in the beginning, you might have to do some things that you didn't do. Because you didn't have these scenarios happen during the course of the regular season where you say, you know what, we could wait till later to use Ottavino. There might not be later. I think when it comes to playoffs, it might, this is right now, this situation. Ottavino is your best option, not named Edwin Diaz, especially that early in the game. So it'd be different, but it's their best option to get a strikeout.
Can my computer not do this right now? Thanks. Tony, who do you have in this scenario? Walks the bases loaded. 6th inning, who are you bringing in?
I want to channel my Max Kellerman.
Oh, boy.
Give me Iguodala.
Well, there we go. I was waiting for somebody to make the
Somebody
joke.
to do it. Yeah. And you did after me. So.
No, Rhino and Frank took the 2 guys that immediately popped to my head. It would be either Ottavino or McGill. Like you, Rhino, I'm a little concerned about McGill right now. Obviously coming off injury, only I think that 1 appearance so far. So I'll play devil's advocate and try to give you a different name, and you're going to be shocked. You are.
Oh, boy.
But,
oh, boy.
I got to say, lately, Trevor May's been a little bit better. He's still getting into trouble, but he is getting some strikeouts at least. I'm trying to give you someone new. I'm really reaching on this one. I'm really reaching. He did strike out. He did have a big strikeout, 2 actually big strikeouts in the 7th inning of Tuesday night's game. It was self-caused. Yes, I understand. And again, this is my 3rd choice. My 3rd choice. You two took my first 2. So I'm trying to give you a different one. I'm just saying he is a strikeout pitcher. and he has been getting a little more strikeouts lately. So let's just pretend that Ottavino and McGill fell into the twilight zone and weren't available for the game. It might have to go to Trevor May in that situation.
I mean, honestly, this is crazy, but I trust Michael Givens more than Trevor May. I can't take that dude, especially with the bases loaded, because the fear of the long ball is too extreme. That the 4-run risk is greater than the strikeout risk. I just can't.
I agree.
That whole mentality that Tony just displays, like, guys, I'm trying here.
I'm
trying.
I'm going through 10 piles of shit, but I'm trying.
That every Drew Smith defender jumps
Exactly.
through. All right, like, come on.
Can I take this somewhere? No.
I was looking at Ottavino. He pitched the 6th inning, 5 2/3 innings, and then the 5th inning he did in 2 games. So he has pitched in the 6th inning 8 different occasions. So Ottavino isn't the craziest idea in the world if that was the biggest high leverage spot.
Yeah. Well, can I throw maybe an answer depending again who's using it. Trevor Williams, I would trust more before I'm trusting Trevor May in that kind of situation, because you can get the ground ball double play, go home, get the force, or depending what the lead is or what the score is, you can seed the run to try to get the double play. So again, everyone was looking at this 3 straight strikeouts. Who are you just trying to get 3 outs to get out of the inning with the least amount of damage done? I would go Trevor Williams before May or again Drew Smith or who else, Joely, whoever else is in that godforsaken bullpen. But that is kind of the underrated choice to just say, get the ground ball, try to concede a run. We don't know what the score. You didn't give us a score situation. Concede a run, get the double play, and then get that 3rd out.
Let's just say that it's a tie game or whatever. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For me, you need a strikeout, you go to the guy that gets strikeouts. Edwin Diaz comes in this situation for me. Absolutely. You need a strikeout, you get a strikeout from him who gets there. I don't care. We've seen him be used, to end the 7th, go to the 8th, you bring somebody into the 9th. Any scenario, I'm bringing in Edwin Diaz in that tight scenario when you need a desperate strikeout. Now, listen, 2019 was very rough. Again, he was terrible. But all I can say is that I need a strikeout. I'm going to the guy who leads the league in the strikeout rate. That's what I'm doing.
And Metsfan wants Kyle
we can put
Walker.
out on there. Drew Smith is a really great candidate. Again, there's a cop-out of Max Scherzer and DeGrom where you're like, okay, yeah, bring him in. But
Game 7, maybe.
Game 7, maybe. You put all the marbles on there. I don't know why Peterson would be pitching in a Game 7.
I mean, even Bassett, too, because Bassett's been so good at runners on base. Like Andrew was saying,
That's
Trevor Williams good with runners on base.
possibility.
Bassett good with runners on base. So you feel like he'll just find something to get out of it.
Would have liked a guy that can get a ground ball, Colin Holderman. Would have been nice to have him. Again, what is Billy Epler doing? All right, next scenario.
Trade for a fat guy.
Let's get to offense. Let's talk about clutch. You're down 1. It's the 8th inning. There's a runner at 3rd, 2 out. Who do you want at the plate? Frank, I'll start with you.
The guy who's got really good clutch numbers for his career, Starling Marte. I know he's going to put the ball in play. I know he gets a lot of hits. He could go to anywhere on the field, and he's the guy that's not afraid of the big moment. He's a guy that has experience, so he's the guy for the – and he strikes out, but he doesn't strike out that much compared to some of these other guys. I know that he's at least going to fight off some tough pitches, at least try to put the ball in play, see what happens. Even if it's a weak ground ball, maybe Marte beats it out. Like, he just finds so many different ways to get hits. He's the guy I want up there.
Tony, you had to say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's only one right answer to this, and it's not Starling Marte. It's Big Cock Canna. It's got to be Mark Canna.
He took my answer.
I'm sorry. Mark Canna has been so clutch, so professional on basically every at-bat, every part of the game, the entire season. I have more faith in Mark Canna to put up a good at-bat, to bring a guy in a clutch situation than anyone else on this team. Starling Marte is a great answer, but I love Mark Canna. I loved him 3 years ago, and I loved when we signed him, and I love him even more now. Mark Canna's my answer.
He's got ice in his veins, Mark Hanna. Like he literally just got ice in his veins. He's just made for that moment, man. He's there to destroy everyone mentally.
Dude, the dude is the dude was put on this planet to blog about foods and get clutch hits. I mean, what else? That's how he was made.
He comes up big. That's what he does. I mean, that's what he's known to do. He's an incredible 2-strike hitter. He works the count all the time, and he's just always there to be a competitive hitter. When you see him go down on 3 pitches, you think he's probably sick. He's got COVID or something. That's pretty much what you're looking at. God, I can't wait for this answer. Andrew, who do you got? Are you gonna? I know exactly where he's going with this.
Do you know exactly where I'm going? Because I actually have a method.
Exactly where you're going with this.
Because I have a method to this madness.
Okay.
It's Terrence Gore. Here's why. Every time he takes a big league at bat, he looks like a Make-A-Wish kid. His strike zone is the size of one of those books behind Frank About Sports.
You don't need a walk. You need a hit.
No. Terrence Gore is the objective.
You don't need an
Listen, there's a method to this madness. Because he gets on base, he can go on third, he can steal home. Wild pitch. Terrence Gore is faster than Usain Bolt. So all he needs to do is get on base. He steals second, steals third, he steals home, you win. Ball game's over. Let's win. Terrence Gore.
You already have a runner at third. You need what are you subbing? Are you subbing in Terrence Gore at third and then bringing in a hitter? Who's that hitter though?
No, he's going up there to hit.
Putting in Terrence Gore.
We're gonna no. Wait, first of all, the Mets don't get hits. They walk they need just walks. So you walk the bases loaded. So I want Terrence Gore to be the game-winning walk-off.
Good with the bases loaded, though.
Exactly, but they walk and they take HBPs. But
notice how no one said Alonso?
Yeah, I love no one said Alonso or Lindor.
No one said Alonso because he just gets stressed out in these moments, and we don't know if he's a good postseason hitter or not.
Well, there's one guy that we know is a good postseason hitter that's on this team who's got a lot of RBIs.
I was gonna say Lindor would have been my next choice, though.
That's my answer, but yes, the guy that shows up in the postseason, but his team chokes everything else. But Lindor's my real answer. For Terrence Gore, it's a good option.
No Dom Smith. He's pretty good in high leverage. Okay. Ooh. All right. Now this is going to be a very spicy one. All right. You're facing elimination. You lose, you're gone. It's a tie game in the 9th.
Okay.
Diaz, Ottavino, and Lugo are all unavailable. Who are you bringing in from the bullpen?
Who started the game?
Tie game in the 9th.
Who started the game?
What? What do you mean?
Who started the game?
Who's the starting pitcher? Who's already been used?
Grom and Scherzer. They 2 heads. Again, out of the bullpen. I'm talking about
Bassett. Bassett's the next arm up.
Bassett the next arm up. Okay. We all in agreement with that?
No other reliever had stepped up enough to give him trust.
Okay.
Besides those 3 guys, I mean.
This would have been like a great situation for Trevor May if he was good, Like if he actually has been good as a Met.
Even 50% of what we signed him for last year.
Would have been nice, right?
Complete bust.
All right, what's that last scenario
very
you
disappointing.
got written down?
All right, so just Chris Bassett, elimination game. Fate of the universe on the line.
Then you best arms there, so it's Bassett.
Chris Bassett. Cool. All right. Last one, and this is another tie game scenario. Carlos Carrasco gets roughed up early and is out after 4 innings. Offense responds and ties the game. Who are you bringing in to keep the game tied? Again, you need some long relief. You need to keep, you need a guy to keep you in the game. Andrew, who do you got?
Who we playing?
The Diamondbacks.
That's not who we playing?
They're going to the
Dodgers, Braves, Phillies. Who we playing?
Braves, sure, Braves, because they're doing the chop.
Trevor Williams. If you would have said Dodgers, I would have said David Peterson.
Okay.
Why? Why?
Braves are more right-handed. The Dodgers are more left-handed. So give me the lefty-lefty matchups against the Dodgers, the righties against the Braves.
I actually feel reverse about Peterson because he did good against the Braves because they chased everything and Pearson can't throw a strike compared to the Dodgers who are much more disciplined.
Yeah,
And I
that
think
is
Pearson would end up walking them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we talk about him. It's just our biggest concern is the walks. It's not lefty right. It's just throwing strikes. I think the Braves are a team that'd be more willing to bail him out.
I think the obvious answer is Trevor Williams, but I mean, I'm probably gonna try to shorten it with a couple of my best bullpen guys and try to get 2 innings out of Diaz in the 8th and the 9th. This is an elimination game, right? You're asking for 6 outs from Diaz, so I might go even as early to Ottavino in the 5th, or don't love Seth Lugo, but he's probably one of your better pitchers in the bullpen right now. So I'm probably going to the bullpen acting as if it's the 7th or the 8th at that point.
Keep the game tied. I think Trevor Williams is that guy to do it. But apparently he's only allowed to be here at mop-up duty. But even though he knows
got him for an emergency.
You got to save him for an emergency again. Darren Ruff was good as a reliever. Can't do really anything else. But yeah, I think Trevor Williams is the guy to just be the one who keeps you in the game. Throw strikes, manage contact, but I would give Tyler McGill a chance because all I can say is that I understand everyone thinks he's going to be a dog shit reliever, but you have to realize that when he was drafted, when he was brought in, he was a reliever. He's got reliever stuff. So all I'm saying is that he's going to be fine out of the bullpen. All right? He's going to be fine. Don't worry. And I would definitely give him 2 or 3 innings to keep that game tied, to get it to Diaz or get it to Ottavino. That's what I would say. I would put in Tyler McGill to keep this game tied. Absolutely. And then Drew Smith too is a possibility.
Of course.
No.
Win probability added actually. For those who don't know about win probability,
we don't.
Win
care.
Probability
all right,
added.
Time to wrap up the show.
It actually predicts it actually predicts the postseason and what's actually going to happen. So that's all I got to say.
Oh God.
But yeah, final thoughts. Going into an Oakland A's series that you expect them to sweep, but are they going to? Will they fall asleep? Jet lagged in the first game? Who knows? Andrew, I'll start with you. Your final words of wisdom for this team that just made the playoffs.
Again, Mark Canna's going to feed him well. He knows the good spots out there, so I expect him to eat well, even though if they're jet lagged as shit. You've got your big 3 lined up, or 2 of your big 3. I don't know who's going Sunday. Is it a Scherzer going Sunday?
Bassett, DeGrom, Scherzer.
So it is the big 3. Okay, so you do got your big 3 going against, but there is 2 lefties starting for the A's. So Darren Ruff, Mark Vientos, ABs, anybody? And again, this is a trap game, trap series coming. Obviously, the Phillies and Braves are playing, and the Phillies are still winning. But again, you should win. But these guys gave the Braves a pain in the ass series when they played out in Oakland. And playing in Oakland is a dumpster fire. Take advantage. And the Yankees, they play good teams tough. So it looks like a cakewalk on paper. Just do your job. Just treat it like you're playing the Braves, and you should be fine.
It seems too good to be true, doesn't it? Frank, last words.
Yeah, don't do what you did against the Cubs. That cannot happen again. Especially if let's just say for some miracle that the Braves don't do well against the Philadelphia, you can't squander that opportunity again. If you have this perfect opportunity to gain games and you don't do it. So you just have to be of the assumption that the Braves are going to win. So you have to too. So you have a chance in that last weekend to really win the series. So they got to treat these games with the utmost importance. They have to respect the opponent. And like I said, act like it's an elite team because you do great against Corbin Burns, but then you struggle against Assad and all these other guys that we never heard of. So I don't want to see it happen again. And just we always talk about these phantom IL stuff. No, this guy has back tightness, this guy has that. Can we just do that for Drew Smith? Can we just give him a random thing and just call up somebody else and just not have to deal with it? I mean, I just can't trust the guy. So get Aaron Heilman in training off my team, please.
Okay. I think there's a lot of guys on this roster I'd do that too. So, Tony, last thing that you want to say until we leave forever?
That was a great comparison, Frank. Aaron Heilman and Drew Smith. They are literally the same pitchers. Like, wow. Last time I was on, not the last week, but the one before, we said the Mets better go sweep the Marlins after losing 2 out of 3 to the Nationals and then only winning 2 of 3 from the Pirates, I think it was. That didn't go so well. Got swept by the Cubs the next whatever. Whatever. That whole 3-week period is terrible. So I don't want to make predictions. Yes, on paper, you should win all 3 of these games with 3 of your 3 best pitchers pitching, but I don't want to make a prediction. I don't want to. I just go out and do it, please, because you know the Braves are going to win 3 out of 4 versus the Phillies. There's no margin for error at this point. You got to go into Atlanta with as big of a lead as possible. This franchise is known for pooping their pants at the worst possible time, and I can totally see it happening in Atlanta. My soul cannot take watching the Braves celebrate the NL East title while we're sitting there in the dugout. So please just make hay while the sun is shining against the Athletics and the Marlins. Win all 5 of these games going into Atlanta. Hopefully you got a 2, maybe 3-game lead. All right? That's all I could ask for.
Walking the tightrope, folks. That's literally all we're looking at. Got to take advantage. You can't do what you did yesterday because you got a gift from the Washington Nationals, who were they're not a good team, if we know.
Sorry. Does anyone want to take a wager that on the final game of the season, Mets-Braves tied, Mets are going to give up a home run to Joey Meneses? Like,
100%.
You just know this is going to happen. He's going to hit a 9th-inning home run off of Edwin Diaz, and Joey Meneses is going to knock the Mets out of NL East. Oh God.
No, it's going to be Matt
Alcides
Dendecker.
Escobar, isn't he still with them?
No, it's going to be Matt Dendecker.
Matt Dendecker.
No, Alcides is gone. I don't know if it was because of injury or something, but he's not there anymore.
All right. Well, as we always say, don't suck. That's all I got to say. Final stretch. 12 games left. Next time that we're here, how many will be left? Like,
it'll be the Brave series. It'll be right before the Brave series.
That'll be it. I mean,
there's the National Series after it too.
Yeah, but
yep.
The season is determined on that series. Nationals less than snap. Season's all right there.
I would love to celebrate the division title in Atlanta. Just doing the chop.
Chick-fil-A cow. All that.
Drinking the okay. That's it. Make sure to go check out our latest video about 6 guys who cannot be on the playoff roster, who suck, and we never want to see in a playoff game ever again or ever. Yeah, other than that, let's go Mets. We're in the playoffs. Job is not finished. We'll see you guys next time. EmpireSportsMedia.com for all of your New York sports needs, not just baseball, all types of sports and everything. Links are in the description to all find us individually. Follow us on Twitter, all that stuff. And we'll see you guys next time.